Well, hello and good afternoon. We have an update and a story. That's a pretty old story when you consider how long ago it happened, as well as the fact that there was some information that had come out several years ago that showed that this individual had already confessed to, being a party to what went on back then. It's a pretty painful sore spot in American history, but still one that we're going to go ahead and cover. And the story says that breaking news, the grand jury has declined to indict a woman who's 88 years old, whose accusations sparked the lynching of Emmett Till nearly 70 years ago. I didn't even know she was still living at this point. I knew that she was around a while ago, but I did not know that she was still with us. But let's go on ahead and get into this. Okay, hello everyone, Scan Family says. All right, it says a grand jury in Mississippi has declined to indict the woman whose accusation set off the lynching of Emmett Till nearly 70 years ago, despite the revelations about an unserved arrest warrant and a newly revealed memoir by the woman, a prosecutor said on Tuesday. The Lafleur County grand jury considered evidence and testimony regarding Carolyn Bryant Donham's involvement in the kidnapping and the death of Till, Lafleur County District Attorney Dwayne Richardson said in a news release. After hearing more than 7 hours of testimony from investigators and witnesses, the grand jury determined that there was not sufficient evidence to indict Donham, Richardson said. Charges of both kidnapping and manslaughter were included. The news that the grand jury had declined to charge Donham makes it increasingly unlikely that she'll ever be prosecuted for her role in the events that led to Till's death. A group searching the basement of the Lafleur County Courthouse in June discovered the unserved arrest warrant charging Dunham's then husband Roy Bryant and brother-in-law J.W. Milam in Till's abduction in 1955. The men were arrested and acquitted on murder charges in Till's subsequent slaying. Dunham, 21 at the time, is now 87 years old and was never taken into custody. This, of course, is Miss Dunham at the time, and this is young Mr. Till at 14 years of age. In an unpublished memoir obtained last month by the Associated Press, Dunham said that she was unaware of what would happen to Till, 14 years old, who lived in Chicago and was visiting relatives in Mississippi when he was abducted, killed, and tossed into a river. She accused him of making lewd comments and grabbing her while she worked alone at a family store in Money, Mississippi. Dunham said in the manuscript that the men brought Till to her in the middle of the night for identification, but that she tried to help the youth by denying that it was him. Despite being abducted at gunpoint from a family home by Roy Bryant and Milam, the 14-year-old identified himself to the men that she claimed. Till's battered and disfigured body was found days later in a river where it was weighted down with heavy metal fan. The decision by his mother, Mamie Till Mobley, to open Till's casket for his funeral in Chicago demonstrated the horror of what had happened and added fuel to the civil rights movement. This is a developing story. Now, in tandem with that, I do want to let you know that I deliberately omitted specific words and terms while reading. And the purpose for that, some may agree with, some may not agree with. But the purpose for me omitting certain things was because there are certain things that were obvious that we didn't need to continuously add. And the purpose for me doing that is to make sure that we look at the actual factual pieces of this case. Now, in tandem with that, there was a part of the memoir that they're mentioning here. There was most assuredly about, I'll say, 7 years ago, someone who had done a memoir with her, who had sat down, where she admitted, and I'm going to say allegedly, but I read it myself, I saw it myself, where she admitted that she made it up to gain attention. That is what I remember. And in the kindness that I've taken not to point out the obvious in this situation, I would ask that everybody at least respect the fact that I did see it and respect the fact that allegedly, according to this particular document that was written, that I did see, that I read, she did say that she made it up. So, for whatever the reason, allegedly, okay, whatever her reason was, we're going to just leave that right there. But what I do find very curious is how we always start to bring up these things when they need issues to cause confusion. I think what happened to this child was heinous. It was terrible. It was appalling. Any parent that's listed here in our chat would agree that any child being treated the way this baby was is egregious and heinous at best. I just want to say, here I come. I don't like people using me to get angry. This, without saying, without saying, this is a horrible situation. Without saying, they should have handled it back then. Without saying, when they became aware of the interview that was done about 6 or 7 years ago, they should have handled it then. Without saying, but it just goes to show the dirt and the level of depravity that the powers that be work under, because they would wait till now to bring this thing out, to keep the divisiveness and to keep the division going. Again, what happened is nasty. It's horrible. It's awful. Anybody who's a parent, anybody who's a grandparent, anybody who's human, got blood running in their veins, would see that this is an awful situation. By the same token, I want to put the blame on who needs to have it, and that is that those who already knew that warrant was never served, those who already knew that she said that she had made it up. Y'all should have handled that then. But as usual, you bring it so that you can cause the confusion and to continue to run your narrative here. So, in as much as I like to be fair, I've got to be fair all the way around. I got to be fair, and I got to call foul on who deserves to have the foul called on. And it's those who had knowledge of and refused to do anything then, whether it's the Mississippi legislature, whether it's the local government, whether it's the people who sat around and kept it quiet all these years. They bear the brunt of this. So those of us who are friendly in the chat, those of us who may not look exactly the same, but who have no problem dealing with each other, continue to stay steadfast. Stay the way that you are. Continue to show love. Continue to walk with respect for your fellow man, for people. Continue to be the way that the Father in heaven created you to be. For those that this turns off, I'm sorry, gotta say it, my perspective. That's that. Shame on them for putting this out for such a time as this. You see how they keep things in their quiver? You see how they keep arrows in their quiver? You see how they pull the arrows out of their quiver ever so gently when it's time. The fact that you guys already knew this shows that you ain't no good. And shame on you. Shame on you for using it to continue to cause a divide. But your days are numbered, because our Father sits high and he can see everything. So keep on adding to the game. Keep on adding to the game. Good luck with that. For Headlines with a Voice, this has been the Lockhart Perspective. Lockhart Perspective.